Tonight, we're going to be talking about Destination D23 that just finished up this weekend. We're going to look at some news, including Toontown and some other great stuff coming up in the parks. And then, of course, we're going to finish our Walt Disney World episodes tonight on ParksCenter. What's up, guys? Welcome to ParksCenter. I'm Rob Whiteside. Hearing a lot of music. It's a thing. We have a great show for you tonight. Fresh off of Destination D23, Mr. Eric Morton. How are you, sir?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Kamila Sanders.
Hi, everyone.
And the variant of Desi.
I am burdened by glorious purpose to be here with you tonight.
I love that that's always a thing. Thank you for being and keeping it low-key. We appreciate it. So this weekend was Destination D23. Starting in 2009, D23 started the D23 Expo in California. At that time, I think we thought it was going to be an every-year thing. It was a place where they could bring fans together and basically tell them everything that was going on in the company, kind of their own Comic-Con. And then after the first one, which was pretty amazing, it was a 4-day event. It was in Anaheim Convention Center. They had 4 different days of television, movies, parks news, all kinds of celebrity sightings. It was an amazing event. I think they thought, you know what, we probably can't do like one this size every year. So then they decided to alternate. Destination D23 has been in Orlando every other year and has been a very like kind of mini D23, still rolling out some companies.
A taste of D23, if you will.
A taste of, yes. Still rolling out some of the company's biggest initiatives. And then they didn't have it last year. I think there was something going on. I don't remember. It was a thing. So D23 Expo has been moved to next year. This was Destination D23, and it was going to be an epic event so big that the CEO was going to open the entire thing for us, and then something happened, man. Bob Chapek was pulled from the schedule, and we found out that he wasn't going to be there, and then our blog and many others, I'm sure, reported that he wasn't going to be there, and then because he had a conflict. And I don't know, when you've known this has been going on for so long, how you all of a sudden have a conflict. But then Disney snapped back and said that we had stooped to a new low for saying that he wasn't going to be there because he was afraid he was going to be booed. But I think that's probably the case. But then they issued a statement that said that he had a conflict, that he couldn't make it, but he had every intention of making it to Destination D23. I'm going to start with Desi on this one. Do you feel like maybe there was a way that Bob might have been able to make it to this?
Absolutely. I think that it's crazy he had a conflict. I want to know what the conflict was. What was it that was so important that took him away from D23, which was planned very far in advance? They had to know the date. He was already on the schedule, meaning this should have been a conflict for whatever else came up, that he should have put that on the back burner. I couldn't imagine him just last minute deciding to stand up something like a shareholder event. I don't see how Destination D23 is really that different, because I'm sure a lot of those people are also shareholders.
Yeah, that's a good point. I saw him at a shareholder meeting with Bob Iger when they were first passing the baton, 2019 in Raleigh, North Carolina. And when I saw that, it really was two different types of leadership. It was Bob Iger, who was comfortable in the position, who rolled with the questions, who just stood there and entertained almost the crowd. And there was, this was told to me, and I agree with this 100%. Then there was Bob Chapek, who seemed like a kid having to do a book report. He was reading off of cue cards. He didn't seem to want to be there. I don't think he likes these things, Eric. Do you think that that had anything to do with it, or do you straight up think he was about to get attacked?
So, no, I think it's a good move on his part to avoid this event, because it would not have gone well based on everything I saw and felt in the room. It wouldn't have gone well. It's a good move on PR's part to come up with something. There are reports that he was actually at Bob Iger's house on Friday night for some sort of farewell dinner, which is interesting because why would Bob Iger create some sort of conflicting event that prevents Bob Chapek from coming to D23 unless maybe he was tossing him a lifeline? I don't really know. There's all kinds of reports out there about what it is, but it is Bob Iger's last month with the company. He also didn't come to say goodbye to Disney fans. But Bob Chapek, good move not coming. These are people that generally the biggest Disney fans do not like him. He does not like the biggest Disney fans. He's a smart guy. He's going to avoid putting himself in this situation. It would have ruined the event for a lot of people. It would have set the whole event off on a bad note, I think. To have the first thing happens is the CEO, very unpopular CEO, comes out, and if people were to boo or not, if he wasn't received well, it would have ruined the event. So I think it's a good move from him not to come. He didn't belong there.
I agree it's a good move for him not to come, but it really is the kind of the cover-up that I think we're all upset about, right? I don't think anybody is too upset that he didn't show up. I think it's the cover-up that, he had a conflict. Tom made a great point on News Today that Joe Rohde opened 2 different attractions on 2 different coasts in the same day, the Avatar, World of Avatar, and the Guardians Tower on the same day in 2 different sides of the country, and attended both. So it does seem like that there should have been some way over this weekend for him to just kind of make an appearance if he needed to, but I agree it's probably a good move not to. Kamila?
I'll just say too that they actively avoided mentioning his name. His name was never, as far as I remember, never mentioned on that stage. They mentioned the name of millions of important Disney people. Nobody said Bob Chapek's name that I can recall. And I have to think it's because they were told not to. Don't go down that road. Let's not take it that direction. Let's just move on and celebrate what we're trying to celebrate without distracting from the event.
Not every company has their CEO be their spokesperson, but we are used to Walt Disney, Michael Eisner, and Bob Iger, who were guys who stood up and represented the face of this company. So, it's a little disappointing that you don't have at least that to rely on. Kamila, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I will just say I do feel like we're kind of getting the good guy, bad guy situation a little bit, because they wheel out Josh D'Amaro, and everyone, seems to have no issue with him, although likely he's very much a part of some of these decisions that people are saying that they hate. And then Bob Chapek, who maybe doesn't love being in these types of environments anyway, gets to kind of stand back and still, be the person who takes the heat, but still gets to do, all of the cuts and things that he wants to do. So it's kind of, to me, a little bit of a dangerous situation for Disney fans, and it just feels like a good guy, bad guy type of situation.
Yeah, you mentioned Josh D'Amaro. How do we feel about Josh D'Amaro now? Eric, when we went to, everything when he reopened the parks, we were huge fans. I think that Patrick was writing him love letters. But yet, when he came out with the Genie Plus conversation, I think it turned a lot of us like, oh, well, maybe he's not any different. How do you feel about him these days?
So he is a perfect guy for his role. He is very articulate, very passionate, very engaging. He did a wonderful presentation yesterday where I think everyone would agree he did a great presentation, and really his job was to announce almost nothing. So he was able to stand up there and dazzle people with not really a lot of material to work with. I will say, other than Chapek not being mentioned, they mentioned everything. I mean, he went on a whole thing about, here's all the things that we're bringing back. Churros and 6-figure weddings and holiday snacks and all these things. They never mentioned the word Genie Plus at all. They knew their audience. The Genie Plus, out of all, this is such a big major initiative that was such an important part of the quarterly investor call, that they talked about it a lot. Hey, it's really popular. 30% of our people are buying this. This includes increasing per guest spend by X amount. All this stuff. They didn't mention it in front of the fans. And the unspoken thing here is, whether we all want to admit it or not, the Disney is at war with its like hardcore fans, right? They say one thing to their investors and they say another to the hardcore fans. And to his credit, Josh D'Amaro is smart enough to not touch on the things that were controversial or unpopular. I think he did a fantastic job of being the person he is supposed to be. Stand up there, get people excited about what's happening, get people to see all the bright side of everything that's going on in his company. So you can say Josh D'Amaro is probably at this point responsible for some of these things that are unpopular, or at least should have some share in responsibility. But he sure does do an awful good job on stage.
Yeah. Okay. Desi, you look like you want to say something about that too.
I guess I'm still in the Josh's smile. He's clouding my judgment, but I thought he did a great job. The lightsaber thing got me really excited, the exoskeleton, so I'm still a big Josh fan. I know not everybody is, but I still am.
Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd still get a selfie with him if I could track him down in the park. But and so, I mean, I saw that one of our WIGS members, Courtney, got a selfie, and I'm like, someday I'll be able to do that. And yet at the same time, I'm really not. I'm not. Dude, whatever. It's kind of like I'm in radio and everyone but me has had a picture with Taylor Swift. Literally.
He actually told us at Baseline Tap House, I wish I could sit down and have a beer with you guys. And hung out and talked.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
I'm not going to cry.
This isn't about me, Rob.
I mean, it kind of feels like it is, Eric. So let's move on to talking a little bit about what was said. So during this presentation, they rolled out a lot of stuff. And hopefully you guys have had a chance to look and see, and obviously Eric, you were there, but we have an article on the site wdwnt.com that says, every announcement made from Saturday's D23 about the parks. There are a lot of things on here, but honestly, I want to get everybody's favorite opinion, or opinion on what your favorite was from the things that were announced. But I want to hot take. I feel like they didn't really announce anything new. It was basically an update on things that already happened. Like, hey, when's the train open up? I don't know, but we're shining up the one that we got. What? That's not an answer. We don't know that. I'm going to go to you first, Kamila. You've looked through this list, I'm sure. Is there anything you went, oh, man, this is exciting?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Festival of Fantasy is my favorite. I feel like I was singing that song all 2020 whenever I needed a pick-me-up. So I'm really excited that, one, that is returning at all, and that it should be here soon. The other thing I will just say quickly, what's funny to me about because I've seen a lot of the commentary in the streets that, they didn't really announce much that was new. I think, last time they came out with these types of announcements, there were a lot of things announced that will maybe never come to fruition. And I also feel like as they've continued to roll out things that were new, they would be like, oh, look, the fireworks show is back. And people would be like, great, but where's Fantasmic? So I kind of feel like, anything that they would do, there would be, some kind of negative or petty response to it. So I think the good news is these things are coming back. There's a lot of things that are new that are coming in 2022 and 2023. So I think it's maybe good for them to not get too much ahead of themselves. Let the dust settle on some of these, new rides. Let's get Tron open. And then, let's see what they've got for us after that.
That's a good point. Eric, again, you were there. Was there any mention of Tron? I didn't see anything about any updates on Tron.
Very general.
Okay.
Very general. No specifics on the opening date, as I recall. They gave more specific information on Cosmic Rewind. Okay. Tron was kind of just like, yeah, we're making Tron, by the way.
We're working on it. What was your favorite announcement?
It's hard for me to say. I mean, we knew a lot of this was coming. Fantasmic is the one that a lot of people were excited about. I was hoping for, trams. That didn't happen. But no, I think it's exciting to see some parades coming back. They showed some concept art of a hotel tower at Disneyland. They showed a few other items. The exoskeleton was really cool. It's not fully baked, right? They were just kind of showing us kind of a behind the scenes of something that's in development. But it's cool to think about the things they will be able to do with that, because this is unlike, I mean, I know Universal has had like these transformer guys for a long time, but this has like hands that can grab things and pick things up, and it's a very advanced figure. So it'll be cool to see what they do with that. I think to see that in person was probably the coolest thing.
Gotcha. Okay. And Desi?
So yeah, the exoskeleton was one of my favorite things. That's what I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Josh, the exoskeleton. I'm excited to see, maybe Hulk or Thanos. I probably won't see them here because of, licensing reasons with Universal, but, I'm excited to see what they might be able to do with it here in the parks. And also I'm a big queue person. I love interactive queues, so I am more excited now for Cosmic Rewind.
I got to tell you, I'm excited that Disneyland's getting magic bands. I know that's a weird thing, but I, am a magic bandaholic. I'm not in any program because I just keep getting deeper and deeper into it. But I'm excited about these new ones. I think they look like they're going to be amazing. But I've heard nightmares of cost up to $89 for one, which may slow down my process of buying so many. But the fact that there will be Disneyland magic bands, I think that's kind of cool. And obviously, with the infrastructure that they've put in by removing the annual passes and then reintroducing them as a Magic Key and the Genie Plus and all the things that kind of mirror what they do in Disney World, it does look like it's a good time to finally put that out there and see, what can happen with that one. So I'm pretty excited about that one. The other thing that came up as far as you mentioned Disneyland and the tower, Eric, but there's also the fact that there's going to be a revamp of the downtown Disney district. So they had some concept art of that. I will believe this when I see it. This is what third iteration of the idea of revamping the downtown Disney district, because they were going to...
I wasn't clear on exactly what it was, right? They're like, this is the old AMC theater, so I'm like, they're turning the AMC theater into grass, and that's like, Imagineers are doing that?
Well, I mean, so what they were originally going to make an entrance down by like where the buses drop off and bypass everything that was down on that end of town. Anaheim stood up and said, no, you can't do that because all these businesses that came to leech off of you can't leech off you anymore, and you're mean, you can't do that. And so they were like, okay, we're going to build it on the other side, and we're going to build this huge tower, and we're going to have this, this huge hotel at the other end, and it's going to have the monorail come through it, and it's going to have shops. So immediately they started closing down the Rainforest and ESPN and AMC and Earl of Sandwich, and then they're like, you know what? We're canceling that too. Let's put back Earl of Sandwich came back. AMC was like, no, we've already split. They built the Star Wars gift shop where the Rainforest used to be, and then the ESPN became a selfie spot. So, again, this is like the third iteration to me of what they could do down in this space. Everything that's down there looks very temporary now. There's we've talked about this before. There's a temporary security area. There's a temporary stage. This could be an area that they actually make out to be sort of more of a Disney Springs, kind of like hangout zone for people who are coming, but they're not coming into the park. So I think the concept art, again, looks pretty amazing to me, but it's just concept art at this point. And we've also seen the concept art that Disneyland is going to, try to expand over to the other side and make both parks larger. That wasn't something that came up either, was it, Eric?
No, that was not mentioned at all. The four things not mentioned, that was not mentioned. Trams were not mentioned. Genie was not mentioned, and Bob Chapek was not mentioned.
Okay, but there was some kind of a discussion about the vehicles, like a panel about vehicles at Disney, right? And it included trams in the conversation, didn't it? Were you at that panel?
I was there. It was on a slide, and they're like, hey, we have at Walt Disney World 120 buses and 60 boats, and then trams are listed on the slide, and then she's like, anyway, next slide. She literally didn't even say trams. She just moved on.
Again, Dollywood has
funny.
trams.
It's funny if you're there. Everyone got a laugh out of it.
I don't know why there are... I mean, I guess we say because money, but that just seems like a necessity to have trams in place, and they're just not there anymore. They talked a little bit about...
I think the reason there's no trams is because the CFO wants to improve people's waistlines.
That's a good point. Yeah, we need to get some exercise. So.
They didn't tell us smaller churros were coming back. They just said churros are back.
It's not. Let's try to keep upbeat about this, but it's tough. So cavalcades. There's the Disney Adventure Friends Cavalcade coming to the Magic Kingdom, and like this looks like the Coco, Clarabelle Cow, Baloo. You know, all the characters people have been screaming for. I don't understand why we're not back at. I mean, obviously we've got the Festival of Fantasy Parade coming back, but why do we still have cavalcades? I'm going to throw that to you, Kamila. Why do we still have cavalcades?
Yeah. Well, I actually feel like they got a lot of positive feedback about them. I think people like the fact that you could just kind of see them at different times throughout the day versus trying to kind of fight some of those parade lines and having to, you know, spend all that time sitting there and waiting for it to come through wherever you're standing. So I actually like that they're keeping the cavalcades around, even though the parades are set to come back. I think that's a good thing.
Okay. You guys talked about the Festival of Fantasy Parade. Kamila, you said you were excited about that one coming back?
Yes, very.
Okay. Loki?
I actually, when the cavalcade started, before, you know, things started opening back up again, I was really excited for them. And at the time, I said I prefer them to parades because they were quick. You could just see something going by, and it didn't deter you for a long time before you could pass through the road to get to wherever you were trying to go. However, after a long period of time, I did start to miss the parade. So I guess this is kind of a happy medium where we get parades and we get cavalcades. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I guess if it's both, that's a good thing. But I really, you know, I think it probably, I assume, has something to do with the fact that we're still not getting a ton of character meet and greets, or I guess we have sightings coming back. But I would assume that this is in lieu of the character meet and greets that that they have the cavalcades. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like the planned parade because I know that the parade is coming, and I can either decide to be a part of it or decide to avoid it. You can't avoid this when it's coming, just because you don't know when they're coming. Eric, cavalcades.
I don't want to interrupt, but I found the screenshot of the vehicles. 400 buses, 12 monorails, 40 watercraft, 30. Oh, never mind. Let's go to the next slide. Anyway, I apologize for getting sidetracked.
No, cavalcades. Pro or con?
I'm pro cavalcade. I like cavalcades. I don't like things that, as a guest, that would take a big chunk out of my day. And parades, if it's just a parade, that's fine. But the parades have become this thing where then you wait for a long time and you're sitting down, and next thing you know, you've been there an hour, and then the parade goes by and it takes forever to clear out of there. I mean, if you want to just hit a bunch of rides, I guess it's healthy for flow of the rest of the park. But as a guest, I'd rather see the cavalcade and move on.
Well, from just a people management standpoint, there should be more things that gather large groups of people, in my opinion, because they are just gathering in the streets or lining up everywhere. So, I mean, it would be nice if there was one thing that drives them away, and you can kind of feel that effect during fireworks that a lot of people are gathering again, whether that's a good thing or not in COVID. But there are places for people to go and gather and have something to do, which I think is a good thing. So I like that for parades, but you know, I
actually saw a lot of people today just sitting on the curb at Main Street and then around the hub. And I was like, what are they waiting for? Are they just waiting for random cavalcades and they just want to sit here and wait and get the parade experience, even though there's not really a parade coming? I was really confused by that.
They just like people pushing strollers into their back. They missed that from pre-COVID.
Or were they just people watching all the Dapper Day people? I don't know. But it was more people than I'm used to seeing just sitting on the curb in the middle of the day.
You should have stopped and asked them. So, excuse me, I'm here to survey. Why are you sitting here? What are you doing?
And then they probably look at me like, why are you asking me, Variant?
No, they would think you worked there for sure, though. So looking at the other stuff that happened, like the Starcruiser stuff, we'll talk about a little bit more. But I feel like that the lightsaber thing was, I don't know, is it just so cool that we can show it as many times as we want and it'll always get a crowd reaction? Because we've seen footage of this already. But I mean, you got to see it live, Eric? Was it a different experience seeing it live, or did you just not care?
Oh, very, very cool. I had seen it before on the video, right? So I kind of knew what to expect. I've seen plenty of things that sort of speculate on how it works. I guess it's notable that they never retracted the lightsaber. They handed it to someone who walked off stage with it. So I suspect it retracts in an unattractive way, maybe where they push it into the ground and just, I don't know, and it collapses. I don't know how it works, but yeah, they didn't retract it, but it came out as it's really dramatic when it came out. Of course, we stand there on the stage and people went wild. It was pretty cool. I like seeing stuff like that.
I still have lightsaber remorse in the fact that I have the $200 Savi's lightsaber and I want this one, but who knows when or if we'll be able to get it. But that's a good point that it didn't retract. I also wondered about the sound effects. Like, were those sounds actually coming from that saber, or were they like pumping them through the system from something
I
else?
think they were coming from the saber. I think it'd be hard for them to time that up production wise, Possible, but I think it's probably coming from the saber. It's not that hard to make a saber make that noise, right? I mean, your Savi's one will do it.
Yeah, it will, and it doesn't do a great job of it though. It's the timing's a little off on it, but it's fine. At least I have one. That's all that's good. The other thing that they talked about with the Starcruiser though was that the data pad will play a larger role in the Starcruiser, which I don't know how I feel about that. Like, let's make it work in the park, folks. What do you think about this one, Kamila?
Yeah, I mean, I actually was just talking to someone that just returned from their Disney vacation, and they had major Magic Band issues, and that's definitely not new technology. So I'm with you. I'm nervous about any new technology Disney is trying to introduce, seeing as how they haven't necessarily perfected their existing technology. But I mean, from the sounds of everything with the Starcruiser, it sounds like they're really going to need the help of these, data pads and technology to really kind of move along some of these stories and to assemble people in the different ways so that they can, I guess, be a part of the different action scenes that are going on around it. So, I would hope that maybe it's simple technology, really, but you never know with Disney.
No, that's a good point. Something else they talked about, moving on, Finding Nemo, The Big Blue and Beyond. This was kind of a scandal for us because we announced that they were closing it, and then it was like, no, we're not closing it, we're just doing a new show. Well, you fired people and you dismantled the show. It sounds like you're closing it. This one is so super vague. I mean, hey, it's got a name, it's The Big Blue and Beyond, and it's coming in 2022. It's literally all we know about it. It could be December 31st, 2022. Oh, there was more. Okay, tell me more.
They did tell us the storyline is going to kind of pick up with Finding Dory. So they have escaped the dentist's office, and they say he accidentally said across the desert. I think he means across the ocean. And it's going to pick up somewhere in that Finding Dory storyline.
Okay. All right, so there is a little bit more information there, but again, if they do release it on December 31st, 2022, it still counts as 2022, right? So much stuff happening in 2022, folks, so much. Fantasmic, the other thing that was a big announcement that they made, and the fact that they're adding scenes to it. I'm going to go back to Desi on this one. Is Fantasmic one of your favorites? And also, are they adding the right IP to it? And is it okay? I guess I'm wondering, are they using the fact that they're adding IP as an excuse for why it hasn't been there?
Moana and Aladdin are two of my favorite movies. I like Frozen too, but it feels like Moana, Aladdin, and Frozen are getting added to everything. They are in Harmonious. They're in Enchantment. They're everywhere. Like, Disney has a really big catalog of movies and songs. Why do we keep rehashing the same ones? I don't understand. I don't get it.
Okay.
Let's add some more flavors in there.
Oh, all right. I think that it means Fantasmic to me. I think means more to Disneyland than it does to Disney World. Thoughts on that, Kamila?
Yeah, I mean, the times that I have seen Fantasmic, it's always been at Disneyland and usually part of a dinner package because I just hate some of those crowds around there. But yeah, I do think it's very beloved in both Disney World and Disneyland, but I definitely think at Disneyland, they kind of take it to another level. I actually think one of the big reasons why we may never get to a place where you don't have to have a reservation as an AP has to do with the crowds that would come of people coming in at Disneyland just to see Fantasmic. And it just made it almost impossible to land a good spot viewing unless you were sitting there for, an hour and a half before. But I think it's very exciting this is coming back. I think a lot of people have been waiting for this, talking about it. I mean, we're getting pretty close to where, people can't say, well, when is this coming back? What about this? We're about to get just about everything except trams.
I was about to say that. Everything has an opening date of some sort except for trams. And then I'm going to throw this one to you, Eric. The Connections Cafe was announced. This fine dining eatery located in Epcot has some more, basically some more concept art, and then also has the name Connections Cafe. Was there a huge round of applause to the naming of Connections Cafe?
No, I think there was really no real reaction here. Right? I'm going to withhold judgment until I find out if they have Heinz 57 or Red Gold ketchup. But we knew they were going to have to put an eatery in here, right? We took out the electric umbrella, people stuff to eat. So something was coming. They call it Creations Cafe. It looks like it's just kind of the same branding almost as the Creation Shop. So
no, it's Connections Cafe. Yeah, you've already Creation Shop.
I don't know.
They're so unique and original.
It does look similar, though.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think something
World
like as
Celebration
crazy
also
and
starts
wild.
with the same.
I thought something like Electric Umbrella was cool. Like it was this like kind of whimsical thing, and this is just kind of just looks like, I don't know, like someone's trying to pitch a new public library to a little town or something like that.
Dawn in chat said, "Could that look more vanilla?" And Lori dropped an F in chat. I assume for Electric Umbrella. So, yeah, I mean, it seems like they're just making all this stuff very generic and I mean, generic. To their defense, generic will have a longer shelf life, right? Like a lot of the stuff that may have been 80s named didn't necessarily fit anymore, but this one at least should have some staying power. So,
I have a problem with this this kind of trend with restaurants. To me, it looks kind of like it's open. It looks like it's going to be loud, and I kind of like the little nooks and crannies. Even Electric Umbrella, even when it was slammed, you could kind of get a little private spot and sit to the side. As a person who has trouble with my hearing, I get in these really loud environments. Steakhouse 71 is much louder than the Wave was to me. I guess they took stuff off the ceilings. I don't know. But this just big, wide open, I realize that's a trend and people like it. It's not my thing.
Yeah, you were going to say, Kamila?
Yeah, so I was going to say, I agree. I definitely am noticing a trend where it feels like Disney is following a uniform. If you look at a lot of the hotel rooms, whether it's, the Riviera Resort or the recently renovated Saratoga Springs, even the look that we got at the new Disneyland DVC Resort, they all kind of have that same look to them, right? The room it's a white bed, and then, you can the headboard might be have an area that's kind of Disney themed to whatever is the theme of that resort, but it's all kind of uniform in a way that whether you're staying at Saratoga Springs or you're staying at the Riviera, the location is different. Maybe some of the transportation options are different. Yeah, but it's kind of giving me at least a very similar aesthetic to what we've seen now in a couple of the recent renovations or new resorts.
Well, yeah, I agree. I think it looks very, very plain, and a lot of it does, and that to me is a little bit sad. So let's just hope that it's something that that's new and clean and different, and maybe the food will be outstanding and we won't really care. I feel like that sometimes when we find some place where it's a really cool theme in a restaurant, that the food is kind of and then when you go to maybe you find that this place, it's all about the food. Maybe that's what it is. Let's just say positively that's what it's going to be. Just
Nobody
final
was
thought.
going to Electric Umbrella for the food. So
Okay. Let's go around just real quick, just to summarize. Final thoughts on Destination D23. I'll start with you, Eric, before we move on to around the hub.
It was my first Destination D23. I had a good time. I'll say, like, the sessions are long and it's big, and I was far away. I sent you some pictures, I know, where I was seated. To sit there for several hours, you know, for these presentations, wearing a mask. I mean, it takes a lot out of you. It was tiring. There were times when I wanted to just get up and go stretch my legs. I think the stream might be a good idea for some people who haven't been to it before. The shopping, everyone loves Mickey's of Glendale. There weren't a whole lot of new things. Like, they had those button-down shirts were from an old, yeah, there's my seats all the way in the back. There weren't a whole lot of, like, the button-downs were all old. They were like clearance. So that was good for me because I didn't have them. They're like $25. There was some cool merchandise. I bought a cool print of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea from Disney Archives. There's a lot of cool stuff to do. The sessions, though, I could be just as happy watching the sessions from home, I think.
Okay, I was trying to find. Hang on a second. I wanna ask you about this picture. So you sent me this photo. Where was this?
That is right outside the convention, right outside the ballroom.
That's very cool. And you guys got to meet Orange Bird. That's an awesome meet and greet right there.
Yeah, he was good. We hung out.
Okay, Desi.
There weren't any huge announcements, but what we got, I think I'm excited about. They know their audience, so yeah, I'm happy. I'm excited for what's coming, even though they didn't really announce anything huge.
Okay, and Kamila?
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited to get the news about Festival of Fantasy. I think Fantasmic is a really exciting update. I think they hit the right note in terms of not necessarily, having some good updates, but not necessarily, promising everything from the moon and back at this particular one. I think this is still a company that is trying to get back to full operation after being closed, Disneyland for over a year. I think their operations have been impacted and they're trying to recover. So I like that they didn't go all out necessarily, but I still think we've got some really exciting things to look forward to. Cosmic Rewind, the Starcruiser, the Wish is going to set sail in 2022. So I think, there's exciting things happening.
Yeah, and they talked about some stuff happening in the foreign parks as well, and I do think there were a lot of cool announcements and updates and things like that, but there wasn't anything that I thought was just, Desi, to your point, groundbreaking, like secret, that like we get at D23 Expo, that they usually, announce something that we didn't know was going to happen at all. All of these seemed like they were, hey, guess what? The train still coming back, and that restaurant we're building at Epcot, we're still building it, and here's another piece of concept art, and that kind of stuff. Eric also sent this picture of some of the props and things that they had, and that to me is one of the cool things about going to these conventions. D23 Expo is the same, is that you get to see all this stuff in person, sort of behind the scenes, or stuff that we haven't seen in a while. And so as we've been talking about Lost Disney World and the things that we've missed from the parks over the past 50 years, stuff like this, when you see Figment or the Butler from Horizons, is really cool. All right, so thank you guys for that. We're going to talk about some of the latest park news. We're going to take a quick commercial break first, and when we get back, we'll talk about parks news, and then when we finish up tonight, we'll be talking about Lost Disney World and the things that we miss from Disney Springs and other places around the resort. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
WDW News Tonight is our weekly comedy show combining the news of the week, comedy segments, thoughtful discussions, insane characters, parody commercials, games, and more. Watch live on Thursdays at 9 p.m. and become a Wigs member to get access to a bonus post show. Watch WDW News Tonight episodes anytime and live on YouTube, or get the audio-only version on iTunes and other podcast services.
Welcome to Unplanned Downtime, a new home for creative, innovative, and outlandish programming made for Disney fans, including Cosmic Read Live, discussions and Imagineering attractions, Deep in the Plus, reviewing the catalog on Disney Plus, Ink and Paint, celebrating female voices in the Disney fandom, Boxed In, opening mystery packages and viewer mail, Picky Eaters, trying to eat our way across Disney restaurants, WDW&T the RPG, a tabletop adventure set in Tokyo Disney Sea, and more of your favorites. Subscribe now at unplanneddowntime.com. Remember, it's not an accident, it's unplanned downtime.
Are you muted?
Muted.
Okay, so welcome back to ParksCenter. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. And if you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up. It helps people to find us. We really appreciate it. I just want to kind of go through and do some around the hub parks news, including the Starcruiser. I feel like we've been talking about the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser since we were in a galaxy far, far away. We leaked some stuff about it way before D23 Expo in 2019. Then D23 Expo, they kind of rolled out a little bit more of what it was going to be. We've been watching it build there in Orlando. Now we're finally, people are booked for the first 3 months of this thing, so it's actually happening. It doesn't happen until March, though, so we still have 4 more months to be able to talk about it a lot. And maybe have all the spoils. Like, I feel like so much stuff has been spoiled at this point. I'm not really sure what else we can do. They had a test flight where they invited some people to take a test flight of the Starcruiser, so they got to get up close and personal with it. They weren't allowed to take any pictures, but they did have a little bit more information on some of the characters and some of the things that might happen to you while you were there. It definitely looks pretty cool with the training. This is something that Josh Jamaro showed a little bit of at the Destination D23. But I want to start with Desi because I feel like she's kind of a little bit of a Star Wars fan. Are you excited about this? Do you think they're telling us too much information?
Tell me all the information because I'm never going to get to go on it because I'm not rich. It looks really exciting. I thought it was a little underwhelming watching Josh D'Amaro, point his lightsaber at the lasers, but I mean, maybe it's more exciting in real life than we saw on the screen. But it looks like it's a super cool experience. I can't wait to hear what Jill and Stephanie and everybody else who's actually going to get to go think of it.
And Eric, are you in that crowd that's getting to go?
No, I have a number of friends that are going, but I mean, this is kind of like them showing me all the specs of a new Bugatti. It's pretty awesome. I'm never going to get to own one, right? So it was kind of cool. I'd say like this storyline, I started kind of being like, okay, I get it. And they go down the line and each of the panelists was kind of there to discuss stuff. So I've kind of heard like most of the story, it feels like. So it seems cool. I'm happy for those people that are able to do something like that. I'm happy for my friends to get to go, but it just feels so unattainable to me that it's hard to hold my attention for too long to get too deep into the details.
So no matter how much they tell you about this, you're still not going to go, you know what, that is worth me taking out a 4th mortgage on my house.
Yeah. You know what? I am going to rob that bank. What the hell?
Why did you rob the bank, Mr. Morton? Well, there's this hotel I want to spend 2 nights in, and
there's this
gosh darn it. Yeah.
Needs to be rescued.
Kamila, you've probably been looking forward to this before any of us knew what was going on, I'm assuming.
No, I'm not really such a huge Star Wars fan, and so I feel like for me, I'm really just interested to understand more about exactly what happens. I feel like I'm kind of like that average guest where I know about it, but I don't really see the appeal of it. And that's what makes me wonder really about, I guess, like the long-term longevity of this. But I was interested in the costumes information that came out, like just seeing a couple of those pieces, that looked fun.
Yeah, let me show this picture right here. So this is some of the stuff that we'll see on board. I think whoever has to squeeze into that droid costume, that's probably not going to be too great for them to have to do. But yeah, it is. So here's the thing that I have about this is, like, I love Star Wars. I always have loved Star Wars. I want to go to this someday. I'm not going to be on the, I didn't get into the first 3 months of it. I don't want to hear everything about it, because if you're paying this much money for it, you want to actually have some level of surprise, I would assume. But, you know, there are people who want to know everything they're getting into, and they really probably need to explain a lot to people, because there are probably more people who don't, who probably have the money to do it, but don't understand what it is, and so they're not going to go. And so that's probably why we're seeing so much information about it over and over again. But I keep explaining to some people who think that it sounds like a thrill to do. I'm like, you're not the kind of person that likes to role play, and you're not the kind of person that, like, I've talked to people who hate being at, like, Primetime 50s Cafe because they don't like the waiters and waitresses messing with them, or they don't want to be the one in the Monsters Inc. laugh floor who, you know, who is that guy, and yet they're all about this. I'm like, wait, you understand that you are basically role-playing for 2 days.
I would love it.
The Venn diagram of people who love to role play, who love Star Wars, who can afford to do this, and who have exactly one spouse and 2 children is like this big, right? So,
I fit all of those except for
the money.
Afford it.
I mean, you got to fit them all, though. That's a great point, Eric. You got to fit all of those, otherwise it just doesn't quite fit. And so, because this is
no offense, I'm not going to share this room with 3 other
rando.
dudes, you know?
If we had
or with my girlfriend and 3 dudes.
If we had $5,000 each, I would go to the Starcruiser. Eric would go see Chef Morimoto and drink $5,000 worth of bourbon.
I feel like, based on the information they've given us, it kind of feels like it's an expensive escape room. Like, to me, that's what it's reminding me of.
Right.
Of like, to the extent that they're going to lead you to, you know, the next scene or whatever, like, that's what an escape room does.
The other problem I see is, let's say this is really successful. Now they have these very high-yielding hotels that take up very little footprint. They're just going to sprinkle them all throughout the property now for every little niche fandom they can find. And then all the new hotels are going to be these very expensive role-playing experience hotels, and hopefully one of them adds like a 5th class, like in Titanic, when they're all just down there in the bottom, like sleeping on top of each other and dancing on a table. Maybe I could do that.
Did you ever see the?
Well, I could absolutely see them doing a Marvel hotel over in California. Or I see Universal stealing the idea and doing a Harry Potter hotel.
That's exactly where I was going to go with that, too, is Universal. You know they're watching this going, let's see if this works, because they don't have a lot of footprint now, but they're buying all that land. They got all that land that they're buying for Epic Universe that they could probably, you know, shovel out a little bit of it for a Harry Potter hotel, or maybe they just put it underground and you have to, like, you know, live in a broom closet, you know, for the entire experience. But it reminds me, I don't know if you guys watch Bob's Burgers, but of an episode where Linda won a trip to go to, you know, experience her favorite, almost like a Downton Abbey type of thing, but she got assigned as, like, the maid. And so she had to basically spend her entire vacation serving the rest of the people. And she's like, how is this a vacation for me? But that's what that reminded me of, Eric, when you talked about, like, that steerage class.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like, I don't know if it'll be interesting to see the staying power of this, because I feel like it's such, like you said, the Venn diagram, it's very, very specific on what it is. I think that a lot of people want to go, don't have the money, or the people have the money, they don't really want to go, and so it will be interesting to see how long it lasts. But you're right, it's not taking up a huge footprint. They could make a ton of money and then close the thing down, or they could change it to something else, because, you know, why not? They could. A lot of this is going to be screen based. You know, it doesn't look like there's a lot of physical sets to it. You could probably rebuild it as something else if, you know, the Star Wars dies out, but it seems like Star Wars is a very safe franchise to do this to, and maybe they just tweak it over time. And I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Stealing people's luggage in that concept art?
I don't think he's stealing people's luggage. I think
checking their luggage. I don't know what he was doing.
No, I think he's helping them with their luggage. This is just how he helps.
Okay, Wookiees known for their helpfulness.
My guess is he's helping somebody with his luggage, their luggage, and then, like, the kids are just, like, running around and freaking him out. I don't know.
The one guy is definitely supposed to be Han Solo, and they decided they couldn't hire anybody who was going to look anything like Han Solo, and they didn't want another Alden. I don't remember how to say his last name. From Solo: A Star Wars Story. So, but his description is like he's from Corellia and he can speak Wookiee, and it was like all of these things. I'm like, he is Han Solo, but you're just giving him a different
Brian Solo.
Yeah.
Yikes. Well, all right, so let's move on from this one, because again, I'm sure we will talk lots more about Star Wars Hotel as time goes on, because we've got a lot of time before it happens. But we've talked last week especially about a lot of holiday stuff that's coming, and the land, Living with the Land, now has its holiday overlay, which is a thing that I think just sort of started happening a couple years ago, that they started adding these holiday overlays to it and lights in the tunnels. And honestly, I kind of love this. Eric, have you ridden this since they've added it? And is this the kind of thing that makes you want to ride Living with the Land again, or does it not? Okay.
I rode it last year, and I've been on it this year while they were decorating. I love it because it feels organic, right? It feels, no pun of.
No, there's a huge pun intended there. Don't lie.
But like the people who work, it feels like the people who work there are like, you know what? We got a deal on Christmas lights at Lowe's right now. Let's just do this. And when I've seen them decorating, it is the people that work there doing it. So I think it's kind of cool. I think it's endearing. I love the Christmas lights with shrimp. I love the whole thing. I think it's great because it's not overdone to this like Osborne type of level. It just feels homey. It feels like they're your friends that did this. I like it.
Well, and to me, it's like that surprise and delight, right? That's that unexpected thing that you just get a little extra something that you weren't really expecting to have before. So, and this in contrast to the fact that we reported that they're not doing like Christmas overlays inside of restaurants, but they're still doing this. This is something where they've kind of raised the bar. It's a positive thing to me. They did it for Halloween. They add little touches here and there for like Food and Wine and Flower and Garden. I think that's pretty cool. But I think this can be nothing but positive. But what's interesting to me is you throw up some of those Lowe's lights, Eric. I almost want to drive down and go. So
I know.
It's convincing to me. Kamila?
Yeah, no, I love this. I'm so excited for it. I will be visiting in December with a mother who loves Living with the Land because she's a gardener and she has her own vegetable garden. And so for her, it's so fun to see like all the different things that they're growing in there. And so to now have like this touch that will be available then, I just think it's so fun. And I think for a lot of other guests who don't care as much for the ride otherwise, it really kind of brings some life and some color to it. So yeah, I think it's such a nice thing.
Okay. Desi?
I think that it's great. I hope they put a sweater on Figment again this year. Let's do all the holiday overlays. So yeah, we can't get the Haunted Mansion overlaid with the Nightmare Before Christmas, but we can get some lights in the land. It's not the same, but at least it's something.
It's not the same. What? This is exactly no. I've always said that like they always do these or just over the top overlays at Disneyland, but that's because you have a lot more locals who are used to seeing these every day. Here, if you were to show up and see the Haunted Mansion for the first time ever and it was laid out like Haunted Mansion Holiday, maybe that would be disappointing to some people, but I think it's cool when you see like the Jingle Cruise and the stuff that they've added there. So I'm glad that there are more overlays to things coming, and it does make this again more of a destination to me because I actually worked this attraction back in the day. I've said that over and over again. And yet it's still one that I enjoyed going to and experiencing, and this makes it somewhat new when you go to do it. I'd almost argue that it would be really cool to see them kind of spread that back into the show scenes as well, but obviously it would only make sense for the farmhouse.
Hey Rob, Brian Sutton in chat said that Universal's going to make a Fast and Furious hotel. you know who stays there, right? Families.
Family forever. Is it, if they just take the party bus and park it in a garage and that's your entire That's your entire. There's not enough time to talk about what's wrong with Fast and Furious, so we'll move on from that. But let's talk about Toontown, because that was an announcement that we had before D23. Did they talk about it at Destination D23, Eric, about the new Toontown?
They touched on it. They said the hills are coming back. That was a big thing that Josh said, is the Toontown hills are coming back.
Okay. I mean,
they did not mention Cartoon Spin. What's going on there? They sort of mentioned Runaway Railway, and I think that's when they took the hills down, and the hills are going back up. That's all I really know. They talked about it a little bit. I might have been like zoning out. But.
Asleep. You can say
I'm not the best. I never claimed to be the best D23 correspondent.
Ooh.
I believe they said that they were going to redo the hills to be more in the style of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. And as I said on Deep in the Plus when we were reviewing the Mickey shorts, that style of Mickey is #NotMyMickey. So I'm very nervous that they are going to redo everything in Toontown and turn it into the Mickey shorts style everywhere, and that just makes me very nervous.
Why do you think that would happen?
I hope it doesn't.
I mean, just because everything else is turning that, into that style. Although,
but the 100 logo feels like it's somewhere in between.
Including the new attraction on the Disney Wish, the Aqua Mouse is going to be that animation.
That is true. That is true. But here's to your point, Desi. This is this is very weird to me. Like this 100 Years of Wonder logo that they announced. We didn't talk about this earlier, but it does not have. It has its like a brand new style. Like this is not old Mickey. Yeah. This is not new Mickey. This is new Mickey. I don't know. Like that's just very strange. But yeah, the Aqua Mouse is going to have the animation from the new style Mickey Mouse cartoons, and I don't know. I was rewatching the World of Mickey Mouse ones, the newer ones, with my kids, and I mean we love it, but obviously my kids are older, but it's just so funny, some of those that they have, and so I love that this other Mickey exists, but yeah, it does seem weird when they commit too much to it in the parks, because it feels like it's something that maybe in 10 years people won't care about, and so you'll have all this stuff in the parks that's themed to it, including our great new annual passes. But if you take a look at this, here's the concept art of Toontown. It's set to close in March of 2022 and not open until I think we get the opening of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway in California in 2023. So they've got this tree that is supposed to be like a thinking tree in Centennial Park. That seems like a stretch. But they're going to have this tree, and the roots are going to be there, and it looks like an open play area. There's this picture of this dad just chilling on the grass. I'm willing to bet you're never going to be able to find that much space to just chill out in the grass when this actually comes to be. But it looks like it's going to be opening in 2023 with the opening of Runaway Railway, like I said. So, it's... I think it's neat, but I always worry about something like this, because Toontown, to me, and Kamil, I'm going to let you speak this because you're kind of a little bit more West Coast on the parks, but with Toontown, there used to be Toontown Fair in Disney World. They closed that down, so Toontown in California was the only Toontown that we had. And so when you go there and you go under the train track, and it's like you're coming up into Toontown, and there's all the things that were interactive, and you have Roger Rabbit and the fountains and all that. I thought that was really cool that it still felt like the Toontown that we had, the Toontown Fair. You could go into Mickey's house and Minnie's house and Goofy's house and Donald's boat, and it was a neat thing to me to see. But some of it had started to kind of fall into disrepair. Like the Chipmunks house used to have this big ball crawl thing, and that's gone. And the trolley used to work, and that stopped happening. And so there's all this stuff that probably need to be repaired. And then because the sun beats down on that hill, it would always look like it needed, kind of like Seuss Landing does, like always needed a paint job. So I hope they find a way to make this a little bit more evergreen, but I don't know how you feel about it, if the original Toontown meant something to you, Kamila.
I have to be honest, it did not. And I feel like this was not surprising because, Disneyland, the land there is such a premium. I mean, they're at war with the city of Anaheim, which was kind of surprising to me to see kind of some of the back and forth about the downtown Disney, because I thought that the relationship had gotten better between Disneyland and the city of Anaheim. But to the extent that it didn't, I think that the land that they already truly have that's theirs is really at a premium. And so I felt like Toontown was one of those areas that no one really went to. If you wanted to get away from the crowds and you wanted to breathe, you would go to Toontown. If you wanted to catch the train at a good spot where probably not many other people would be getting on, you would go to Toontown. And that's a problem, frankly, because Disneyland is too small. You need all of that space to be utilized effectively. And so if they can find a way to kind of draw people's interest back over there, then I think that's a good thing. And to be honest, most of the Disneyland friends I have, most of the Disneyland groups and things I've talked to, they're not surprised by this news, and they are interested to see, what this change really will look like. But I think most people think it's a good thing and probably was needed.
Well, here's a look from Google of as much space as Toontown takes up, which of course it's going to take up a little bit more when they put up in Runaway Railway behind it, but that is a good chunk of land that it takes up, and even with the berm of trees they've got there, you probably could use that land for something else. And I think there was talk at one point about either expanding Fantasyland into kind of a frozen land like we see done overseas, or expanding Batu eventually into this area too. So I thought at some point, kind of to your point, that like Toontown would just go away actually. So I'm glad to see that they're investing something in it. The building of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway probably makes it so they have to do something. I'm just hoping the Roger Rabbit attraction stays there, because that's a huge thing for me that exists somewhere. So
you could put like a Galactic Super Starcruiser in that space.
Oh no.
Eric,
oh, no.
Stop giving him ideas, buddy. We don't need that. So Drawn to Life, speaking of a circus, Drawn to Life is finally come to into existence in Disney Springs in Florida. This is something that was supposed to happen a long time ago, and again, because COVID, it didn't happen, but now it's here. The review that we have on the website is Drawn to Life by Cirque du Soleil is a work of art for lifelong Disney fans at Walt Disney World. Did you get to see this, Eric? You did.
I have not seen the show. I do have a number of friends who've seen it, and all of them say it is fantastic. One of my friends is a pretty tough critic of theatrical things and said it's probably his favorite Cirque show. I'm sure he's seen all of them. And I will say that we were treated to some clips and some concept and things like that at Destination D23. And my girlfriend was in tears. She got choked up at some of it. It was really, really good. Looks really fantastic.
Yeah, I've only seen a couple Cirque shows. I've never seen a themed one. I never actually got to see La Nuba. Did anybody here see La Nuba? Yeah, never did. Well, and here's why, because I'm not from there. I don't know if you know that or not. I'm not in Orlando. And so when I go to Orlando, the idea of spending an extra 60 to 80 bucks a night for 4 people, when I know that 2 of them were going to hate most of the night and would rather be on Space Mountain, that was not something that worked out for me. So it was just something that we never did. It wasn't anything, against La Nuba, but that's a piece of real estate that is something Disney that I was never able to experience. And because this one has this, this Disney kind of theme to it, I'm very excited to finally be able to get to see this one. But I've been to Vegas and I've not seen the Michael Jackson or the Beatles or any of those, and so I've not seen any of the ones that have the themes. But this one looks to be pretty amazing.
I'll tell you, Eric Goldberg, an animation legend, is very, very involved in this show, and he's very passionate about it. And he was there. He spoke a little bit about it. Then he ended up outside next to me at a table. With nobody around. I should have said something. I should have been like, "Hey, what's up? By the way, can you draw something on my napkin?"
You hobnob with so many famous people, and it doesn't even faze you. So here's some of the footage from it. I saw him come to D23 Expo and talk about it in 2019 when it was supposed to open, shortly after. So it's really neat to see all this stuff. You can see the huge crowds that were outside. It's good to see like something going on in front of this this front of the space again, which is awesome again because of the footprint it takes up. Some posters, some really cool stuff that they've done on the inside. I think that's a neat addition too, that the inside lobby has all of this extra stuff. This guy caught on camera by the stacked seats. I'd love to know what he's doing. If somebody could find out, that would be great. The animation that they have there, we looked at food and merch and things like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff about this show that I think looks great. And again, cool thing that it's going to be something that Disney fans can go do and maybe get them out of the parks a little bit so that I can not have a 4-hour wait for Rise of the Resistance. Kamila, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is exciting. I'm like you, Rob. I'm jealous of that unicorn fan that's here long enough to like have the time and the energy to add something like this. But I'm so excited for Orlando locals who I think will definitely be able to take advantage. But it sounds really cool. I've seen quite a few of the Cirque shows in Vegas, and they've always been fantastic. So I love the combination of Disney and the acrobatics. It sounds amazing.
Awesome. Desi, caption this.
What am I supposed to? That looks like a nice T-shirt on the side, but not as good as what we have on Carousel products.
You weren't supposed to look at the ad. You were supposed to look at the person falling through the art desk. Thoughts on this? Did you buy your tickets?
You kind of stole my thunder for what we're supposed to be talking about later, but I have never done La Nuba, but I have done other Cirque shows, and I do live here. I guess I always thought I'm just going to do the Cirque shows that come on a traveling basis, and La Nuba is always going to be there. And when they announced La Nuba was leaving, I was like, oh, okay, I'll just wait until the new one comes, and then I'll see that. So hopefully I get to see it at some point. It looks cool.
Cut to 2 years later, and you might finally get to see it, right? That's exciting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Luxe stuff, which is Eric's new obsession. The Luxe collection has finally landed. I mean, didn't you say that you're going to get everything? I mean, I feel like you and Lee are going to get the tracksuits. Is that not a thing you're going to do, Eric?
Matching tracksuit?
It is not in the budget.
What?
He wants the 50th tiara is like the top of my budget. So.
I mean, if you say so, dude.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know. You talk about these like ear hats that are like
$600.
$600.
So let's start with this. Let's start with this.
Is there?
Yeah, there is one that's it's got like gold, like the gold rhinestones or something. But they're yeah.
Yeah, like the Liberace ear hat.
Yeah.
The Liberace ear hat. I thought that you were going to get this watch, Eric. This $600
no, I have like I have the Apple Watch 2. And that's going to have to last me another 20 years or so.
Isn't that funny that you could probably buy 2 Apple Watches for what that one costs? Maybe these plates, these 50th anniversary logo plates, maybe you can get those. $275.
Are they dishwasher safe?
Yeah, probably.
They don't look dishwasher safe, so I'm probably out.
The small one's only $3.99 though. You could probably get that one, right?
You know what? I could see myself putting a Hot Pocket on that and having a good, luxurious day of it.
Honestly, so for those who don't know, there are several lines of merchandise for Disney World's 50th anniversary, and we had like the day of merch, and there was preview merch, and there's iridescent line, and then there's the Vault collection, and so the Luxe collection is the one that we've been waiting for, and it's finally starting to make its way into the parks, and it's for people who are going to grab all this on their way to the Galactic Starcruiser, I assume, because it is so much money, and some of the stuff looks pretty good, but mostly it's just black and gold stuff. So black and yellow, black. So like if you look at this, this is a great looking tumbler. I love the fade on this one. The whole thing is great. And then you look at it and see that it's $49.99 for a tumbler.
For a cup.
For a cup.
But it comes with a straw too. So.
Yeah. It's an ombre design, of course it is. I mean, it's a good-looking thing, but it's also got the Starbucks logo on it, which I guess is a good thing. But if it's Disney merch that I'm paying $50 for, I maybe don't want the Starbucks logo on the side of it.
Is there a
It can't
spork
be
in
that
this
good of a
collection?
tumbler if nobody had a fist fight over it.
What did you say? Is there a spork for this collection?
Yeah, is there a spork in this collection?
No, I don't think so. This is the collection that Eric is going to buy all of, including this jeweled ear hat for $1,000. These headbands that are only $225. Those are nice, but you know they have the 50th on them. The crazy thing about this is this is the one you're buying, right? The $750 jeweled headband. Is that the one?
I'm allergic to the.
It's cute, but not that cute.
Yeah,
Can
but
you imagine wearing those on Splash Mountain and coming off sweaty and then wet?
Do you wear these? I don't know. I mean, I don't
wear them.
Why would you buy them to not wear them?
Most of my Disney merch does not come in a satin bag inside of a box. Most of it doesn't. And maybe I'm just making the wrong purchases. But if they do a bejeweled wishable, I guess I'll have to buy one. Kamila, you were going to say something?
Is there room to embroider your name on the back of that ear hat?
No.
What I have been told about the secret to the Luxe stuff collection is you have to have a Disney Visa card and you use your points, your cash back, and that's how you are able to buy these things. That's what I've been told.
Well, again, I haven't seen these in the parks yet, but we were promised these were coming and that Eric and Lee would be wearing them. So I'm excited for that to be part of his world. I assume you can use your pass holder discount, but it seems pretty weird to say, hey, I'd like to buy this $1,000 jeweled hat, but here's my coupon. I mean, right? Is that weird? Yeah. I don't know.
Listen, no. Please do that. Please don't buy any of this. That's the real answer. Like, no. Go on vacation. Don't, because all they're going to do is come out with another collection that's going to be the next thing that you think you need.
I've changed my mind. With my $5,000, I'm buying 5 of those ear hats instead of going on the Starcruiser.
I have the classic dilemma of, do I buy the cool outfits to wear on the Galactic Starcruiser, or do I go stay on the Starcruiser?
Yeah. You can't do both. Okay. All right. Well, you just may have to show up in some ratty ear hats and be able to do the Starcruiser. One last thing I wanted to cover, just because my good friend Desi is on here, and because she made a big stink about Life Day and not having any representation. Last week we talked about the fact that Life Day had food, specialty food, and now there is specialty merch. So, so if you look, here's some really cool Life Day merch. And if for those of you who don't know, during the Star Wars Holiday Special back in 1977, they talked about the Wookiees celebrating Life Day. And so we have all this the Life Day orb is there, and Rey's hanging out with Chewie and his Snuggie. And, they've got all this other cool stuff. So, Desi, you're buying all of this, right?
I literally messaged our reporter who was there that day and asked her to buy some for me. So when I said that's mine, it probably really is. That's legitimately waiting for me right now at the studio for me to go pick up. So I'm really excited about it.
I mean, there's a lot of cool looking stuff, right? What is it? What is it you have?
And I feel like they did this just for me because I made a stink about it on this show. They're like, okay, just for Desi, we're going to put up some Life Day merch.
Yeah, they pushed the Life Day orb through production just so that you could have it. What did you put on your wish list out of this list?
The Wookiee plush, number one, absolutely. With the red robe. How could I say no to that? You know, the great thing about it is what a steal this tumbler is. The same size with a straw as the ombre one, and it's only $24.99. That's like, and it looks dishwasher safe.
Yeah, that's half price, man. That's a deal. The Life Day bargains, like, do they do Black Friday for Life Day? Is that a thing that happens?
Do you remember before Life Day was about the merch and Life Day was just about celebrating with your orb?
Yeah. Yeah, in the good old days before it got so commercialized.
And watching
now they're putting Life Day stuff up after the 4th of July.
So crass. People don't even get it anymore, you know? They just don't even understand Life Day anymore.
Let me at least get through Halloween. Come on.
Great. Well, thank you guys for going down that road with us. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back and do a quick discussion about Lost Disney World and the rest of Disney Resort, Disney Springs, things like that, right after we get back. Stay with us.
Deep in the Plus. Each week, join host Rob Whiteside and a panel of Disney superfans as they take a different movie or TV show from the Disney Plus catalog, tell you its history, details, give their review, and let you know if it's worth your time. Current shows, classic movies, and everything in between. Watch Deep in the Plus live Tuesday nights at 9 Eastern for new episodes. Or catch Deep in the Plus anytime on YouTube at unplannedDowntime.com.
Chomp at your neighbors.
Hold for Mr. Corliss. Hey, Tom.
Killed Nick Wilde and I'm wearing him on my head for warmth.
Oh! Oh, no!
Mickey is giant. Oh, it's time for your favorite. Cups.
Welcome back to ParksCenter. Again, if you are watching with us, we appreciate you. Please give us a thumbs up. It helps people to find us. A couple programming notes for the upcoming week. Things are going to look a little bit different. We are not going to be doing a Deep in the Plus this Tuesday. There will be a boxed in for our marathon show. Marathon show starts on Friday night with Mr. Eric Morton and the pre-show of Locked In with Eric Morton, the return of. And then you guys are doing boxed in when?
Sunday.
Okay.
I think Sunday at 5, and then in the middle of the night, Saturday night, sometime we're doing like an outside the bubble segment we've already filmed with Axel's doing like a middle of the night show. So
very cool. And then I feel like Desi, you're on every show during the marathon. Is that correct?
I'm definitely on Deep in the Plus and Ink and Paint.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to do a live stream as well.
Well, yeah, we are.
Tonight.
We're not doing a Deep in the Plus this Tuesday. We are not doing a ParksCenter next Sunday because there will still be they'll be doing the end of the auction for Toys for Tots. So it's a good cause. We do our marathon show. It is 50 hours of live programming with apparently the exception of whatever Axel has recorded. But for Deep in the Plus, Desi and I are going to be doing a review. So here's the thing. Because there's been such an outcry, apparently, for Brink to be a thing that we do a review of. Oh, I'm sorry, our time's up. Because there's been such an outcrying of for people who want to do Brink as the review. Brink. We're going to do Brink for the kids. We're going to do it for the kids. So if you if you guys out there weren't just heckling me and you really, really wanted to do Brink, please tune in Saturday at 7 p.m. and donate for the kids.
Yes.
It's finally going to happen. We're going we're going to do it, but I swear to you, y'all better tune in and y'all better donate for the kids.
We're going to donate. We're going to watch you suffer. It's going to be so much fun. We're all going to be there. I'll see you there. I got my checkbook ready.
It's a rollerblading movie. What could go wrong? You know, I mean, it's what Eric, top 100 Disney Channel original movies. Where does Brink fall on that line for you?
I'm only just hearing about it. And I have another rollerblading movie from the 90s because my friends were talking about it the other day that they watched a million times. I've never seen it. There's some other rollerblading movie that was very popular in the 90s.
You know what?
It obviously competes head to head with Brink. So
you know what it wasn't? It wasn't Brink 2. They never made a Brink 2, Eric. I don't know why. We're going to find out.
Because they weren't doing sequels yet.
Ah, that's probably not true at all. Yeah. That's not exactly what it was. High School Musical must have done Maybe that was after High School Musical. I don't know. Anyway,
High School Musical was early 2000s. Brink was definitely the 90s.
Okay. Well, we're doing
That was back when things were original.
Okay.
Still.
Yep, we're doing it. It's for the kids, though. It's not for you, Desi. It's for the kids. So, well, a little bit for you. We're going to make it happen.
I'm a child. It's okay.
Okay. So let's talk about things, speaking of, like, childhood, let's talk about things from our childhood. Things from Disney, and we've been doing this series, and hopefully you guys have been playing along. And if you haven't, please go back and watch our previous episodes of ParksCenter. We decided to do the things that are missing from Disney World over the 50 years. It doesn't mean that it was because they were great. It doesn't mean because, big bad mean Disney. It just means that they don't exist anymore, and we were looking back nostalgically at the things that used to be there and aren't. We started with the Magic Kingdom, then we did Epcot, and then we did Hollywood Studios, and then we did Animal Kingdom. So just for one more final shot, I wanted to talk about everything else, which includes Disney Springs and what used to be there, and then things at the resorts and other things on property, other offerings that were there that aren't there anymore, just to celebrate the 50 years of Walt Disney World. So 5 different segments, and I wanted to start with the panel tonight and talk about, from this section, Disney Springs, other resorts, not the parks, what are the things that you miss that aren't there anymore? And Desi, you sent me a list, so I'm going to start with you.
So number 1 on my list of things that I miss at Disney Springs, I didn't realize that it was all of that. I thought you just said Disney Springs. Maybe I didn't read far enough down. But number 1 on my list would definitely be the Void. As a huge Star Wars fan, that was the most immersive I have ever felt, even more than being in Batuu. Being able to go to the Void and feeling like I was really in a Star Wars movie and battling against stormtroopers and Darth Vader. It felt real. I could look down at my hands and I could see like the stormtrooper garb on. It felt super realistic, super immersive, and it didn't cost $5,000.
Oh, you mean like the Starcruiser? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, so
it was such a great experience.
And it was very short-lived, and the thing to me about it is that it seemed like it was the evolution of DisneyQuest, which we can talk about in a minute, but it seemed like the evolution of that because it was like the next generation of gaming, but it was run by this company called The Void. They had a partnership with them. They did the Star Wars one, and they did a Wreck-It Ralph one, and they were supposed to be a Marvel one in California. I don't know if I think that came to be, and then another Frozen one was supposed to be coming, and then the whole thing got shut down, and there was some talk about the fact that the Void got sold to another company, and that the agreement for the licensing of this IP was only to the Void. I don't know if that's the case. The sad thing to me about the Void is that it and the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique took over the space that was this huge Once Upon a toy store that used to exist there, and now that's just like a box that now they have Santa in apparently until the end of the year. But it used to be this huge, massive, awesome like toy store, but they took up the space to do the Void, and they put physical objects in the room. It wasn't just you sitting down wearing a headset. There were physical objects, and you would go and you would grab a gun, and it would look like an actual gun, and you would walk around, and in the Wreck-It Ralph one, you would shoot like milkshakes, and that was kind of a fun thing. So I agree with you. That was a pretty cool one. Eric, something that used to be in any of these places that you miss?
I mean, the easy low-hanging fruit would be the Adventurers Club.
Okay.
Is that
absolutely
too obvious?
No, not too obvious at all.
The Adventurers Club was just a one-of-a-kind experience that I've never seen executed to that level anywhere else, where you had performers interacting with guests, interesting whimsical stuff that you could see along the way, interesting decor, all these things. And this is Joe Rohde creation, right? And it's something that I don't think anyone will ever be able to execute on the same level that Disney did this. I know there's some kind of like knockoff bar to the Adventurers Club supposedly in New York City. It's supposed to be pretty cool, but there's a big difference between that and like bringing to bear a Disney Entertainment Group and Disney Imagineering to create this incredible experience for guests. I think everyone who ever went to the Adventurers Club was blown away. And it was a place you just wanted to keep coming back. And I'm sad that it's gone. I walk past it every time I walk past there. Little little tear in the back of my eye somewhere. You know, it's just every time I go by there, I wish it were there.
You do the Kungaloosh salute on the way by, and it's all, yeah. Kamila?
Yeah, so for me, I definitely have to talk about the things related to just getting there and getting to your resort room. So much is about to change starting 1/1 of 2022. As someone who has to fly to get to Disney World, I've always kind of come in through MCO, and I loved the fact that I could check my bags here in Phoenix, and I wouldn't have to worry about them again until I got to my hotel room, because Disney used to have a program where as long as you had the right kind of tag, you could put it on your bag when you check it, and there would be people at MCO that would recognize the tag as you were headed to Disney World. They would get your bag for you and make sure it got to your room. And also, I would arrive at MCO, and I would go get in line for my Magical Express, and I would be, whisked away to Disney World. And I still remember when they announced that they were going to get rid of the Magical Express. I was on ParksCenter, I think, the day that they announced it, and I feel like we kind of, oh, that's too bad, but I really can't stress enough. For most people who are flying to Disney World who are not driving, they were taking the Magical Express, and this is a huge loss. We've already started to see some of the pricing for what it's going to look like if you want to take the new Mears Connect, which is kind of the replacement Magical Express. It is very expensive. And I think already we're starting to see Uber surge pricing where it could be, $50 each way. So this is a huge change. Just the literal act of how you get from the airport to your Disney World resort has already gone through some major transformations and is about to continue to go through more. And I really wonder, are there enough Ubers in Orlando? Is there enough capacity to get all of the people who used to rely on these motor coaches to actually get them to where they need to go? So I'm very interested to see how this is going to work, but I also think it's a huge loss. And a lot of people who book their trips, they book them with the intention of them being all-inclusive, and we have lost so much of that. Dining plans still have not come back. Now we're losing the transportation, and Disney hotel costs have only gone up for a room that is, comparable to the Marriott. So it'll be interesting to see, if inventory remains low and mostly sold out, or if people start to look to other solutions if they choose to still go.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is there are not going to be enough Ubers. No, there's always enough Uber. It's just going to cost you money. That was a kind of a neat experience. Me personally, I wasn't huge into the Magical Express just because it meant that I had to be on their schedule, and I'm not good with people's schedules other than mine. So, they were like, hey, we want to make sure you're at the airport in time. You have to leave 4 hours early. Nope, I still have time to do Space Mountain 3 more times, so I'll drive myself. But I agree that there's something magical, especially, I think about my in-laws, that they would have been, hey, I'll sign up for this, and when I get to the airport, I go straight to the bus, and I get there, and when I get to my hotel room, the bags are already there, and that's a thing that people will not have anymore, for sure. I have a couple things that I wanted to talk about and kind of get some thoughts and opinions on, and I think that most people, I think we're about 50-50 on who's going to actually remember these things on this panel. So one of them, and I don't know if you ever did this, Eric, but was River Country, Disney's version of an old-fashioned swimming hole. Yep. They got rid of, they added Typhoon Lagoon, and then they added Blizzard Beach, and there were 3 water parks for a minute, and then they said, hey, we're going to get rid of this one. And the story that I heard was that because of that water at the bottom that is part of Bay Lake was some of the water they were using, that there were bacteria getting into the water that was not good for folks. Is that the rumor that you heard as well?
Brain-eating amoebas, I believe is the term.
I mean, but it was cool. I'm just kidding. It seems like they could have, but I mean, it seems like they could have, maybe made like a barrier for that area and made it actually a pool, but you can see like the slides and the extra pool over to the side. And this sat over on the land that was right next to the wilderness campgrounds. So, I mean, I don't know. It was fun. I only did it once when I was really, really little, so I don't really remember it very much. But what I do remember is when I worked there, it was still there. And when you would ride the monorail, you would hear the spiel that would go, "On your left is river country, Disney's version of an old-fashioned swimming hole." And like that's why that's in my head, is that's the thing. There was that, and then there was Discovery Island, and those are two things that are huge amounts of land that they just didn't do anything with after that, except for I guess. This land was cleared to make space for reflections eventually, and then that didn't happen, and they just kind of shoveled some grass on it and made it go away. And then, what is Discovery Island is now just a home for people who don't have one. So you can go live on Discovery Island if you want to.
By the way, today at D23 there was a presentation, and I forget his name, but there's a book that came out that they're plugging. And he talked about all the effort that went into buying this property. And buying Discovery Island was extremely difficult and expensive because one guy who was a radio disc jockey in Orlando owned that island and sold it to like 12 or 13 other families who split it up as like a vacation property. So to acquire that, they had to talk to 13 different families to get that and to get Bay Lake. And the amount of time and effort they put, it just sucks that there's nothing there, right? I don't know. I think it's cool. It was cool that there was something there. Maybe they'll redevelop that someday. It sure looks awful now when you go past there and you can see kind of the skeletal remains of what used to be there.
Yeah, and that's kind of a big deal, right? I mean, not just like how much effort it took for them to do that, but they had built like it was a sanctuary. I mean, you could go and see animals, and I guess that maybe one of the times or one of the reasons this closed was because they had made Animal Kingdom and took a lot of those things and put them at Animal Kingdom instead. It seems like there's a ton of opportunity that you could do here, especially with as exciting as Pirates were for so long, and maybe this is where we build the Pirates of the Caribbean boutique hotel. I don't know. I mean, you could do something, right? Like that would be an interesting
Black Pearl.
thing. Yeah, I mean, the Black Pearl should be docked over there. There's a lot of space over on, off of Bay Lake that I feel like could be better used. Another thing that RIP is this particular place, DisneyQuest. That to me has sadness on multiple levels that DisneyQuest isn't a thing anymore. Partially because they demolished the whole thing to make space for the NBA experience, which is now also on the the gone list. So they knocked this building down. They built this huge building to replace it for the NBA experience, and now that's vacant. So I don't know. Desi, did you ever get to do DisneyQuest?
No, I never did Disney Quest. It was another one of those things that it's like, oh, I'm a local, I'll get to it eventually, and then never did. So no, never got to do Disney Quest. Just one thing I want to say about River Country is I never did that either, and that's because that water just looks gross. Even before hearing about the brain eating amoebas, like who would want to do that? And the people who, before they put the netting up, went swimming in Bay Lake, like, ew. That's just all I have to say about that.
It looks like a place where you swim in jean shorts.
Is that a thing that you do on the regular, Eric? Because, I mean, go ahead and spill that now.
No, that's why I never went. I didn't have good enough jean shorts.
Okay. All right. So the next thing is... let me make sure. So we talked about Disney Springs in general, but there was a time where Disney Springs was known as the Buena Vista shopping village. So back in the day, it was not all that it appears to be today with Disney Springs. You can see that there were no parking decks, there was no Lanuba, there was no West End, there was no Pleasure Island. I mean, it basically ended over like where the Legos were, and then went on over to where like the Christmas store is, and that was about it. So, the original marketplace. I don't know that's something that I necessarily miss. But the cool thing about the marketplace, it was really kind of all about that World of Disney store. And you would, my dad's policy was always like, we're not going to buy you 82 souvenirs. We're going to get you something on the way out so that you've had all this time to think about it. And then you get on the way out, which I thought was brilliant, because that way, like, I didn't get every single thing that I came across. Now it's a little bit different because you can't always get everything at the marketplace. You almost have to get it inside some of the parks, which is good that there's a, unique merchandise like that. You can't just go to the marketplace and get the menagerie pins, the Merry Menagerie pins, but it also kind of is a pain that you have to go all the way to Animal Kingdom to get stuff like that. So it was kind of neat to see that. But another part of this was the Empress Lily. So if you see over there, the boat that's parked there was called the Empress Lily, and it was the first time I had ever been on a Disney character breakfast. So that was something that I always thought was really neat. Now that's Paddlefish. It still exists. But think about where Paddlefish is in the middle of, of Disney Springs, and this was at the end of Disney Springs. So, there's so much that's been added to it since then. So I think that's a positive thing. Any other experiences with the Empress Lily or with the marketplace before it became the huge Disney Springs that it is?
I remember it being the Village, right?
Okay.
I still, until recently, just called it the Disney Village. And I don't remember where it ended. I mean, obviously, like, all my experiences really going there were right around the time Pleasure Island was being built. So Pleasure Island was kind of, the end for a while, I guess. I saw Weird Al on that West End stage one time. That was a big highlight. But I just got used to calling it like the marketplace, and then I had to call it Downtown Disney, and then I had to call it Springs, and I always type Springs wrong on my phone. I wish it were something easier to type. For whatever reason, Springs is a really hard word for me to type. But hopefully this we're in the final version of this.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would be anything other than that. Anything else on that before we move on?
Well, I think I said this previously, but when I was a little girl, it was the Disney Village, and then when I was in my teens and my 20s, it was Downtown Disney, and now that I'm in my 30s with a family, it's Disney Springs. So I felt like it kind of grew with me, and so therefore I think that by the time I'm old, it's going to be a retirement village.
And you'll get
the villages.
So yes. back to the villages.
Disney villages.
Back to the villages. Yeah, so, we've talked about it a little bit, but, Pleasure Island was something that, was added to this area, and this is a horrible picture of the gateway to Pleasure Island, but, there was a lot of cool stuff about Pleasure Island that, it was kind of Disney's answer to downtown Orlando. Was it Church Street Station? Was that what it was called?
Yeah, Church Street Station. Yeah.
And so they were like, hey, you know what? People are coming to Orlando. They should come spend their money with us. They made this huge, kind of walk through it during the day, and then at night they would gate it off and charge you. I think it was like $25 a cover to get in.
Yeah, it was a separate ticket.
Yeah, and then all the clubs. It was a caboose, I think, was the ticket booth, and you would go over and buy tickets and go into Pleasure Island, and you could go into all these cool clubs, including the Adventurers Club that you mentioned.
A caboose for that 12-page backstory, I'm sure.
Yeah, true. And I mean, we've talked about it. You guys have talked about it on News Tonight that this Pleasure Island had this huge backstory, but at the same time, like, didn't seem to make sense that Pleasure Island could have just been the coming together of the Pinocchio Pleasure Island, but it's not. Like, it has nothing to do with
Different
that.
Dude.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Exactly.
You don't turn into donkeys.
Merriweather Adam Pleasure. Yeah, it has nothing to do with
The Funmeister.
Sure, the Funmeister. We loved the Funmeister. I mean, there was a kind of a cool place to hang out, and there were all these clubs and things, and I liked the Fireworks Factory, and that was kind of a neat restaurant that I always drug my family to when we would go. And I think when I was younger, you couldn't get in, like I couldn't go and walk, be there at night. But the West End stage, I did see Weird Al Yankovic on the West End stage. So
we were there the same day.
We probably were.
It was June of 92-ish.
Very likely, yes. Wait, we're never mind. I'm just kidding. So another thing that makes me sad that is gone is the water sports stuff. I don't know if you guys ever did that. The Sammy Duvall's Water Sports Center did things like parasailing around Bay Lake. Like the view that you would get from that was amazing. And while I said earlier that I didn't actually ever do Lanuba because I would go there specifically to be in the parks and didn't want to waste any park day when I've already spent all this money on a park ticket. We got to do this as part of a radio thing where they brought us down and they wanted us to experience some things outside of the parks, and we got to do the parasailing. And it was amazing. It was the only time I've ever been parasailing, and they had all of these other things that you could do around, you could go fishing or other stuff around Bay Lake, all the water sports that they had there. Did anybody else do any of this stuff?
I rented the little 2-seater boats. So like my mom and I went in one of those boats, and then my stepdad and brother went in the other 2-seater boat. And like I think I was 16 at the time, so I was just at that age where they let me drive the boat, and I thought I was the coolest thing ever, being able to drive a boat on Disney property.
By the way, this is not Desi, just in case you were wondering. But this is
not me.
Yeah, this is the 2-seater
I was in one
boat.
of those that sank once.
Really? Well, so they used to call it the water mouse, and then they changed it to like the water sprite because I guess they would break down, and then someone would have to come out and just like a go-kart, like restart you, so you would be out in the middle of the water and somebody would actually have to come out and restart you so you weren't.
That didn't happen to us.
Mine just sank.
And they had them all over property too. You could do this over at
Mine was at Captain Jack's Marina.
Oh, okay.
Or whatever they called it. Downtown Disney Marina. I don't know what it's called, but yeah.
The one
I made it back to the dock before it went fully underwater.
They would do this over at Contemporary. They would do this over at Wilderness, and they also did it over at the Port Orleans Riverside. Actually, had it where you could ride the little boats over there. So, I mean, a lot of this stuff was really cool to add on to your vacation. I mean, a lot of people go and take the family, and this is supposed to be the vacation kingdom of the world, right? So it's not just about the 4 theme parks and the 1 water park now. 2. It's I don't know, the 2 water parks.
1.4.
Do what?
1.4.
Yeah, whatever we're gonna call Typhoon Lagoon until it actually opens up again. But I mean, this was the vacation kingdom of the world, and you could do just about anything. And it's one of those things where, like, if you wanted beach, they had beach, and if you wanted, you wanted to be able to ride on, the little water boats, you could. So
is this gone because of the alligator?
I don't know why it's gone. Honestly, I know this. The contract was killed with the whole Sammy Duvall thing, and I think at one point Disney ran it on their own, and then they vetted it out to them. So I'm not really sure how that coincides. It could have been. Another experience we did was the Richard Petty driving experience, because they had an actual NASCAR track in the middle of
so cool.
the parking lot at Magic Kingdom, and it was one of those things that most people didn't even know was there, because of the way that it was bermed out that you couldn't see it. So that was kind of cool. And when I did it, one of the things you could do is you could drive, but then I think over time they changed it to you rode with a driver, and then he would take you up to those speeds. Luckily, I got to do it when you could drive, and it was really scary, but it was fun.
I think they had 2 different experiences. If you did it with a driver, it was cheaper than if you did it on your own. If you did it on your own, it was like an astronomical price.
Yes.
Wasn't somebody killed doing that? Is that why they closed it?
That sounds like it would be.
I don't know if they were at Disney, but that could have happened. It seemed severely unsafe. It really did. Like, wait a minute, I don't have any training, and you're going to put me in a suit and put me in a car and let me go 140 miles an hour around a round track. That seems like a mistake on your part, but okay. Like, if
that's why I didn't parasail. I was concerned about Disney's safety record, so I did it randomly in Mexico by some guys that walked up on a beach and had a parachute.
I don't believe that that's true, but here's a very rough picture of where it sat in the parking lot. So you can see that it was at the back of the Disney parking lot, and there was the Walt Disney World Speedway, and this was an actual regulation speedway that they could have used for for events, and there were grandstands, and there was the Mickey pond that you could see from the top. I mean, it was a pretty cool thing. So, but now that's all been bulldozed over with all the construction they've been doing around there. One last thing I want to ask you guys, is there anything that, and maybe it's something we've talked about now, but something that was at Disney World, at the resorts, at Disney Springs, that you always wanted to do, but you never got a chance to do either because you didn't live there at the time, you didn't have, enough money to do, you were too young to do anything like that? I want to talk with Kamila, because you've been notably silent.
I feel like a lot of this stuff, I just, unfortunately, I don't think I either was around or would have been aware when it was there. Pleasure Island is one that I remember when I went to the parks and Pleasure Island was around. I was a kid, and that always just stuck with me, of like this concept of like you could go to the parks during the day and then at night you could like go party at Disney. So I thought that would be a lot of fun. But I feel like in terms of something that I've never done that I'm hoping to do at some point, I would love to check out the spa experience at one of the resorts at Disney. I've done the spa at the Four Seasons Orlando. That was really nice, but I'd love to see like Disney's version. So that's on my bucket list.
Okay. Desi.
So I have family that was in Hawaii, and so I went to a lot of luau's over the years, but I never did the one at the Polynesian. And I always thought, oh, I'll just get to it eventually, because my grandparents had talked about wanting to retire in Florida eventually. So I thought, okay, well, someday when they are living here and I don't have a place to go for free to go stay in Hawaii anymore, that's when I'll go do the luau at the Polynesian. And they just moved here this year, and of course now the luau I don't think is coming back. So that's something that I wish I got to do. I know. It is. It's something I wish I could do, but I never got a chance to.
Okay. Mr. Morton, you've probably done everything, so you don't have anything on your list.
No, that's not true. Like Desi, I've never been to the luau. And I wasn't alive for this, I don't think, but you used to be able to surf at the Polynesian. They actually had a wave machine out in the Seven Seas Lagoon that would make waves, and you could surf to the beach at the Polynesian. And it caused a lot of erosion problems, so they got rid of it. But I would have loved to try surfing on Seven Seas Lagoon. I think that would have been really cool.
Yeah, my understanding is, and maybe this is wrong, that still exists. That surf machine.
You can see where the infrastructure was for it. I don't think the machine is still there, but there's still like apparently big like cement things that it was mounted to or something. I don't know.
Gotcha. Well, and Goofy.
And while we're talking about that, I wish that I could have done the surfing at Typhoon Lagoon. Oh, it was Typhoon Lagoon, right?
Yeah, they don't do that anymore. I mean, obviously not right now.
Well, Typhoon Lagoon, I hope, is coming back.
Yeah. The one for me, and this is, you guys are going to go, what? I don't get this at all, is the Fiesta Fun Center. Does anybody know what I'm talking about when I say the Fiesta Fun Center? Eric's nodding his head. So this was like this huge arcade inside of the Contemporary where I believe the Wave exists right now. Or, no, sorry, Steakhouse 71. Anyway, where it existed. So it was just this ginormous like arcade, and it was called the Fiesta Fun Center. And because we didn't ever stay in the the huge deluxe hotels, we didn't actually get to go into that. And the arcades they have now in the hotels they're more than probably should be there, just because again it's 2021 and every kid has an iPad. But it is neat that they still exist in some way, shape, or form. But this was like skee ball and like the whole nine. It was like Chuck E. Cheese in your hotel. And I learned about it and wish I could have gone. There is a TV special that we did a Deep in the Plus on that is on Disney Plus. That it was like the Mouseketeers go to Disney World, and in it they're actually in the Fiesta Fun Center. So those brats, they got to do everything. It was so cool.
I was just going to say that because a very young Lisa Whelchel is in that.
She is. So anyway, I know we've gone way over. I appreciate everybody like kind of walking down memory lane with us over the past 5 weeks on this, because I do think there's a lot of cool stuff. I actually sat down and came up off the top of my head with like 200 different experiences and attractions and shops and things that that off the top of my head I was thinking have come and gone in the 50 years of Disney World. Things that I wish I could have done, things that I did and missed, things that I didn't really miss at all. And so I'm sure there was more that you think of with your families, and we'd love to hear about them. If you want to leave a message in the comments below, just the kind of things that you did with your family, because these are the memories we made at the the most magical place on earth, and we all love Disney, and that's why we're here, because of Disney parks. I think of a ton of things at Disneyland and Disney California Adventure that have come and gone over the years too, which maybe we'll talk about when it's their anniversary. But it's the 18-month celebration of Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary, and so I thought we should at least kind of acknowledge some of the things that have come and gone over the years that won't be acknowledged anywhere else. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed that. Thank you, the panel, for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. Eric, thank you, Kamila, Loki, and don't forget, we're going to do this huge marathon to raise some money for Toys for Tots, so hopefully you guys will tune in with us to all the great programming that's coming. If you are a WIGS member, we love our WIGS. Thank you so much for being a WIGS member. You can find out more about our Patreon program at patreon.com/WDWNT. But if you are a WIGS member, then we have a post show coming up for you. That's it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you to Rosita for the $20 super chat.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Rosita. You are the best. We appreciate you. She said, I'm sorry to have to give because Rob has given. I'm sorry, I have to give because Rob has given in to Desi. And okay, Link to give in to the kids. Very smart. Okay. Brink. I mean, bring on Brink. You people in Brink.
See?
Yes.
See?
We will see. We will see about Brink. But Rosita, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you guys so much for watching. And thank you guys for being on the panel. Have a great night, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving. Dun 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 dun.